Hey y'all, it is Trent Knox. This is the Trent Knox Show, Season 3, Episode 5. Um, this episode is going to be around my origin story. I felt like I needed to come over here and record this podcast and kind of give the listeners and my viewership out on Twitch, Instagram, and Facebook and Twitter um, a backstory of who I am and how I got to be the person I am today. Um, if if you've been following me for a while, I mean, you've probably gotten an idea of who I am or my origin story, the who, you know, uh, through Austin Live and Local or Common Chaos or creators or with the video work I did for Ty C or a couple of the different things that I've done more recently. Before I get into that, I want to shout out the sponsors, of course. Postmates, food delivery, anywhere, anytime, for any place that you can think of in your city. And they have been so kind to give me a referral code that I've put out on my Twitter. That's twitter.com/Trent Knox. You can head on over there, scroll down, you'll find the post about Postmates. And if you're looking to, starting a new gig or get some cash on the side, there is a $150 bonus for the first 55 deliveries that you get done, and you'll earn a guaranteed $600 in that first month of work with those 55 deliveries. Also, shout out to Anchor.fm. They are my podcast distribution platform. They handle all of the sponsorships and the subscription service for all of my podcast distribution and advertisement. That's Anchor.fm. If you've ever thought of starting a podcast, I highly recommend going and checking out their website and services and see if it's right for you. It's a community of great podcasters like myself, and I look forward to hearing your podcast as well. And also definitely shout out to my other platforms that I'm on, that I'm putting stuff out on. Twitch.tv/Trent Knox, and Twitter.com/Trent Knox, Instagram.com/Trent Knox TV, or you can find me at Real Trent Knox. Then, of course, Facebook.com/Trent Knox TV. All right, let's get into it. So let's go back, and I want to start off with I was born in Reno, Nevada, and I was born to a smaller family, actually a kind of a disconnected family of sorts. My mother, she had me out of wedlock with an individual, a gentleman that I am unaware of his existence, who he is, or what he does, or if he is still alive, or whatever the situation is with that. That being said, um, I grew up in a small town till about 5 years old, um, outside of the Carson City area, or outside of the Carson City area, or Reno area. I don't really remember that much. And it was called Gardnerville, Nevada. Um, I can't say much about it, other than it was, small town from what I can remember, and I lived at the back of like cul-de-sac ish place. It kind of like was a dead end. I lived at a dead end cul-de-sac, and there's like a one story um house with 3 bedrooms, kind of tight knit, small, very small house. That was my grandmother's house when she was living in Nevada. Um, my mother, when I was about 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, she met a gentleman that I call my stepdad now. Well, stepdad, father. Most of the time I do call him my father. Um, and he decided that he would join the military. And I'm kind of, going over. I'm kind of going fast through the beginning stages, so I can kind of get into, why I am doing podcasts, and you know, I'd like to go to in more. I would like to go in more depth to my childhood, but it's kind of has to take a lot more thought. But again, so my mother started dating my stepfather, when I was 4.5, and they got married really fast, almost in the same month. It was like um, got got started dating in September, and then got married in October, kind of roughly like that. The whole concept of love at first sight. Um, so he joined the military, and I was, you know, um, taken away from my family situation in Nevada to be with my mother and now my stepfather in a foreign land called Louisiana. Um, and I don't really have that many clear memories of Louisiana, other than I was uh, I was homeschooled because I wasn't necessarily the most social child, and it took me a lot. It was very hard for me to socially interact with the children after I had been taken from had been moved out of living in my birth state, and taken to Louisiana. And we lived in a very rundown, dirty, you know, disgusting area called Fort Polk, Louisiana. Um, Very dirty, very low income housing. Um, you know, I wouldn't compare it to like prod. I would the most comparable I ever think of it as is like project housing. Everything's made out of like the wood is made out of like this like composite board, and like everything is plastic. It's These houses are, were built in like before like World War One or two or something like that, and it was just like real rough. Um, you know, uh, Probably a good reason why like most of those memories are held in the you know locked away in my Abdul Abangada. I mean, locked away in my mind. Um, anyway, I had a tough time interacting with people. Then in 2001, 9/11 happened, and my stepfather, my father, was deployed in 2002 to Afghanistan to fight in the war for enduring freedom. Um, yeah, and then so in 2002. I my mother and I and my brother that was just born in 2001, um we were we packed up and left prior to my dad getting back from Afghanistan to go and while he was deployed to live with my grandmother in Texas in a town called Georgetown, Texas, outside of Austin, Texas. And I lived primarily in this area, Georgetown, Texas, outside of Austin, for my entire life. It, I'd say that most of my adolescence um, was growing up here in Georgetown, Texas. Um, Georgetown, for those of you who don't know, is a has since I was growing up here has always had a small town mentality. Um, However, it is primarily a retirement community town based off of a large retirement community that are now nationwide called Sun City. And so I grew up in a town that didn't have a lot of youthfulness to it, and there were a lot of strict rules, and most of the parents of the children my age were in their um in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. There weren't very many, young parents, young entrepreneurial parents, or just young people in general in the town, given that given its large retirement community. Um, and with that being said, there it's a very religious town, given that it hosts south south southeastern university. I think I actually don't even know. Uh, um, yeah, Southeastern University. I think. What the hell? Why am I getting this wrong? Am I off? Okay, I'm not off. No, I'm off. Why am I off? Okay, yeah, Southwestern University, um, which is I've always found this quite ironic, given the fact that the university is on the east side of the divisional line of the state highway. Uh, but whatever. Um, I digress. It Growing up in this town, there were strict guidelines, strict rules, very cath, cath, I don't know. Just just people behaved in a certain type of way in the public, and behaved in a very different way in their private. Yet they didn't have a whole lot of behind closed doors interactions that seemed crazy. I mean, everyone would assume that that would be the case, but it no it, it's a town where mostly agriculture, um, oil, and manufacturing kind of meet. It's not a lot of tech. I mean, more recently, there's been a lot of tech Not even a lot of politics or old families. It's mostly, real ranchers and what have you. Not this intellectualism. It's not a lot of that. But anyway, so grew up in this town. And I'm moving forward pretty fast, and we'll get back and highlight a couple different things. But grew up in this town outside Austin, and when I graduated from high school, well, actually, let's talk about high school, I guess, because growing up in middle school and whatnot, I played football pretty much throughout my whole childhood up until my junior year in high school, when I injured myself pretty bad in powerlifting, and kind of slipped a disc. I was in recovery for quite some time. I tried to ignore it. I still deal with the pain today. Still try to ignore it. I was doing ice baths. I was doing what I could to get it fixed. And ironically, I could have played through through high school. And I think I would have developed a little bit better, or a little bit more, to the point at which I could have played, in my senior year, but probably not my junior year. The What I experienced doing, you know, doing sports was a life of competition, consistent competition, and I took that and I put it into school, and I always didn't win at school. I was a decent, probably, above average student. I wasn't an exceptional student by any means, but I was able to complete a lot of collegiate courses while I was in high school. Uh, and then I was able to do a lot of peer work. I was a mentor, and I did um, auto tech, and uh, I did pretty well at those things. And when I'm just kind of skipping through, and I know this is just not really getting too in depth, because like it would take a while to really um, be more details about these specific situations in my life. But in high school, aside from being pretty good at school, I'm pretty good at competitions and tests and whatnot, above average, not exceptional, but above average. Um, I was a partier, and I, had some things happen that caused my life to kind of shift directions from where they were going and where they could have been. I was a drinker. I partied. I did drugs. Um, I didn't do any hard drugs. Pop pills maybe. But not like on an everyday basis or anything like that. It was more of like very inconsistent, like maybe once in every six months or something like that. Um, but anyway, I dabbled with drugs in high school, drugs and alcohol in high school. I did foolish things, um, risking my life in different ways. Being you know just I was a very nice guy. I think everybody would say throughout high school I was very honest, respectable. um I gave everyone the respect that they deserved from what I the respect they gave me. And there are a couple, that I look back and I feel like I got into fights. I got arrested for fighting with my stepfather, the person I call my father, um, and I got arrested, and due to my drugs and alcohol consumption, I was tried and guilty of assault, and as a result, I I had to pay a lot of fines, and um, in the future, which I didn't know when I was pled guilty to this, and I wasn't given any probations due to my drug and alcohol consumption. I didn't know the effect of what that would be on my future. Uh, and I could have lied. I could have been dishonest. I could have been untrue to myself. Um, but I wasn't. Uh, I think that the individuals who were in charge of, determining the consequences of what I did, definitely went overboard. Um, I do live in the hardest county in the U.S. For this type of crime of assault, and in the state of Texas, the type of assault is the same as if you had raped or murdered someone, and I pled guilty to a Class C misdemeanor. Um, but it's the same. Any assault is assault with family violence and battery, and that comes up on your permanent record, and it's the same as rape, assault. It's of a woman, and it's people will believe whatever they want to believe. They don't go past the labeling, even though I got a plea bargain for assault. Many times when someone does a background check on me, comes back as assault with assault family violence, and then they don't do their research, and they don't realize that that crime wasn't assault with family violence, like I had beat up my girlfriend or raped my girlfriend, or gotten sexually physical with a girlfriend, or any type of thing like that. It's just I had a bad night, and my father, he went beyond his he went above and beyond to discipline me, and he's an exceptionally good person at that, going above and beyond his line of duty to discipline someone is it's exceptional. It's takes the cake. And as a result, I in 2011, I was arrested, tried, and convicted of assault, and it ruined my life for quite some time. I was able to, because of I was above average at sports, school, writing, doing things in general. I was able to manifest enough um, funds to send myself through college, and with the help of some of the with the help of my stepfather and my father, um, and his job in the military, I was able to go to college. Now, 75% of my college was funded by me, given the fact that I was still consuming drugs and alcohol throughout my college career. And I get into that a little bit further into depth as I keep going. But um, my father was so kind to uh, grant me 50% of his post 9/11 GI Bill, and the other 50% to my little brother. With 50% of that, I was able to, at 17 years old, move into a dormitory at Texas State University, uh, and or yeah. Anyway, uh, Texas State University, and I lived in a co-ed dorm at the time. It was called Laurel. I'm not certain whether that dorm exists. And I went and my roommate was one of my high school friends, long time school friends, friends of the family, and we decided it would be good to room into each other because I, was very forward in telling him that it would be advantageous of him to go to college. His family and our family friends were, weren't necessarily pushing him towards doing it, but my family weren't, you know, didn't give a shit. Um, I was, you know, not to say that they didn't give a shit. They weren't. It wasn't their concern, given that he wasn't really close with my family, more specifically our neighbors and whatnot. And from time to time, he would spend time with my grandmother and whatnot. But more specifically, I pushed him to do SATs and go through things. Plus, in addition, he had a girlfriend, and she was interested in going to the university, and ended up following him there, and that's pretty much as far as I'll go with that. But I was doing the whole fraternity thing and enjoying life at Texas State because that was my thing. But I managed to, fail a math class. I managed to, spend a lot of money, and then during that time, in my um, in my first semester there is when I had to go to the court. Oh, actually, it might have been the second semester. Uh, no, yeah, first semester. Must have been first semester. But in that semester, I had to go and show up at court and get and I got convicted of the crime, and I didn't have to serve any time, but it's just as bad if I did or I didn't. Anyway, so I went to college, and I spent the first 2 semesters at Texas State. Is this recording? I think it is. Okay, good. First 2 semesters there, and then I transferred to the University of Hawaii, and I completed my degree in film, digital media together and whatnot. And I didn't really do anything spectacular while I was, at the University of Hawaii. I was in a state of just lethargicness. I feel like I might have been on the brink of doing something very, 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 very crazy, or doing something so um, extraordinary when I was at Texas State, but for some reason, that didn't happen. Uh, I was, I was gaining some admiration. I was, building building myself up. Uh, and I think that if things had been done differently, whether the drugs and alcohol weren't as prevalent in my life in Texas State, I would have performed better, and I wouldn't have, failed the 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 math course that I did, and I would have been more successful long term. My grades were okay; they just weren't, phenomenal. My first semester at Hawaii, it was pretty good, but I started getting on SSRIs and other things that made me super lethargic and just weighed down, and my cognitive ability was so low um, that it was so difficult for me to even get out of the bed, let alone utilize my brain to comp do computations or read large format textbooks or do a lot of thought processing, critical thinking that would have made me a much more successful human being than I am today. So after I graduated from the University of Hawaii, uh, I moved with my family to Colorado. I did an additional semester at UCCS, University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, and I basically just failed out because I just didn't give a fuck. I didn't care about anything at that school. There were no girls that were, enticing me to spend time with them. There was nothing. There was no desire to be in the school anymore. I thought that I had the desire before, at that time like, I was at like 150 pounds. Um, and I had lost a lot of weight after I'd moved from Hawaii. I was in a physical training course while I was at my last semester at Hawaii, and I had lost a lot of weight, but then I had gotten very, very, very ill when I moved to Colorado during the seasons, and I stayed that way for a while, but then I kind of like really hit the bottom. I did no physical activity for quite some time, and it still hits me today with the physical activity, being unable to do much about my weight. But anyway, or working out or sports or anything like that, just really isn't the most of my concern. Um, and I'm not trying to emphasize this in the way that it's coming off. This is another thing I'd have to break it down into another episode. But with that being said, so I finish my degree. I did the semester there. I was still in this state of having taking these uppers and downers and this and that to because I had all of these people trying to determine the person that I would be, and they couldn't even understand how lethargic I was being made by the drugs that they were trying to give me to decide who I was or what I was gonna be. They didn't fulfill their purpose. So I speak with psychiatrist A, psychiatrist B, psychiatrist C, and not A, B, and C don't agree with each other on the diagnosis of a person who is clearly, unable to mentally control their desires when their desires from time to time negatively bring consequences on themselves, whether that's drugs and alcohol, sex, violence, laziness, gluttony, these 7 sins or whatever. They didn't know the right concoction to make me the better version of me with their drugs and their rules and whatnot. But anyway, so I did that. Then I was weaned off of it by another psychiatrist and another psychologist and another neuroscientist because they determined that those other physicians were quacks and they didn't know what they were doing. But then, they come from a different school, and it's just they learn their topics differently. And having been, a college educated man, I realized it's all bullshit. Um, you know, they don't. You gotta search for the person that will fulfill the role of whatever. And it may be 50, 60, the sample group of going through all these people that may or may not help you. Along the way you're going to get damaged. And and what they may or may not think is may not be the most up to date in studies. But anyway, so I live in Colorado, and then some really bad things happen in Colorado. Have maybe another incident with my stepfather, and to the point at which it was time for me to make a decision that I wouldn't be able to coexist with my young brother, my stepfather, and my mother. Each individually, maybe it'd be different, but they're together. And the way that they pushed me out to the point at which I went and moved to live with my grandmother back in Georgetown, Texas. And, that hasn't been, as sweet as it could be. But, it's a place that I call home, and I can go back to whenever I need to feel some solace. So I got back home, and I've been working on myself for quite some time, trying to get the right mindset and the right people together to do either, film as I went to school for, or, help someone develop their business, some sort of mechanism to support myself and my future, whatever that may be, because it doesn't seem as certain as, when you're in high school and having, the traditional track of, going to university. And whereas, there are, you're told as a kid that you could be a teacher, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be a fireman, or armyman, all these sorts of career opportunities. I never attached myself to anything like that. Thought maybe I would be an athlete, um, or something of that line when I was, in, pretty good shape, and, I ran fast, I jumped fast, I was on the team, you know what I mean? And got injured, and I was over with. So it's kind of like, looking back at that, I think that my life kind of repeated itself. The Once I got injured physically, sports was over. Once I socially got injured, life seemed to be over. Once I got mentally injured, seemed like my career opportunities were over, and that I can't I can't physically do what I could when I was young. I can't. I couldn't. I don't know whether this is gonna change or not, but I was. I couldn't physically do the things that I couldn't physically live up to the opportunities that I thought I had when I was younger. Then I socially couldn't live up to the opportunities that I thought I had when I was younger. Then I mentally couldn't live up to the opportunities that I had when I was younger. But times change. I mean, you can heal in certain ways to a point in which you can recover and and achieve some goals in life. Um, I don't know whether that is going to be, if this is going to be a positive story long term, or if this is going to be a tragic story, or just a melancholy story, or just a kind of a bland story for me. But I wish for my best, and I hope that I get my big long term goals of being successful, being able to not worry about financial issues or anything like that, because the the consequences of the actions that I chose in my past um, seem to negatively affect my future, and I haven't learned from my mistakes wholly, um, in drugs, alcohol, violence, finances, in many ways. And I think that easily people can be determined as being bipolar just based on ignorance, because the the true to center lesson that an individual needs to learn to get themselves out of the rut that they're in, um, doesn't always come from someone else. Sometimes that lesson has to be learned by the individual, and you have to let that individual fall, um, for them to rise. And in many ways, I feel like I've hit the bottom that the rock bottom that I can hit, because I'm just intellectually and street knowledge and book knowledge wise, um, I know that if I was broke, not earning an income, that if I was hungry, there's always some way for me to live off the land, off the street. Where there are a lot of those of us who are mentally handicapped or ignorant of the ways of the system and how the system is designed to help people. Libraries, public universities, food banks, and in many ways, the aid and help that is provided to people with mental disabilities and suicidal tendencies, or anything that may cause some sort of harm or hurt to you or another individual, that there are programs, state funded and federally funded programs in the United States of America for you. And also, you if you're alone, or you are feel like that there's no one out there for to help you, there's always resources, free resources for you to utilize to seek help from people that potentially could help you. And I mean, like I said, my situation wasn't always perfect, and that I spoke with a lot of people that weren't able to give me the tools or the secret in the time that I needed it. The cheat code to get out from under the rock that was hurting me. Maybe it was I never experienced the rock bottom. I never experienced what it was like to be in that position. And then did I realize that I was in rock bottom, or did I never was I just looking at it, feeling it? What sense of rock bottom was I experiencing? So I am here today to say that this is kind of the origin of who I am, and more of the origin, kind of more of current events and origin. Like I said, I'm an army brat that grew up, and I was a bad kid, but also a really good kid. I didn't really, I wasn't mean or bully or anything like that. I saw some. I was bullied a lot when I was in high school and whatnot. I spoke about this on the previous episode of calling kids gay or being called gay. And being told you're stupid or you're lame or you're not able to physically do everything. And it makes me very sad. I did a lot of, like I said, I did a lot of peer work, mentorship in high school, and after I graduated from college, I did that a lot with helping with adults and helping with children through different sorts of arts and entertainment. And it's important for us to want to be the best version of us that we can be, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's people are out to put you in a negative light and, spread your name in the most negative way that you can, and you're not aware of it, that it's all a secret and that people are, conspiring against you. Maybe not in a orchestrated or structured way, but there's enough negative information being spoken about you or the way people perceive you that they put you in a negative light, and then you're kind of ostracized socially from the community in which you were you know you were a part of, whether that be the scene, the social scene that you're in, or if that's your family or your community or your college, your church, or whatever that may be, that you're they deem you a pariah of, or whatnot, and then you become a martyr for the thing that the whatever you did to change the community. And as a result, like myself, I like to cause less controversy. I don't like to physically fight in the streets any longer. I don't, have any desire to, be ignorant about, someone's appearance or the way that they speak, or any type of harassment is immediately deemed negative. Even being, telling someone that they're not committing, they're not, doing, they're not living up to the rules. You become a snitch, or something. They're not doing right by their parents or their community, and you become a snitch, and snitches get stitches, and it goes a long way down a long rabbit hole on how like maybe that's good for the community at large if you snitch, and then whatever. But I live by the street code. Snitches get stitches, and you don't confess or put up, negative information about anybody. As a result, I kind of forget a lot of things. Especially in the media or textbooks or whatnot, because I think everything's street shit, and if it seems controversial in any way, I kind of like to play around it a little bit, and I try to just like make it a thing that it's make it not be a thing. And so yeah, that's about it for me. This was just kind of an episode that I wanted to talk about the origin of who I am. If you have any questions, hit me on Facebook or Twitter. I'll put a post out about this episode on there. My Instagram or something like that. Anyway, so my Twitter is twitter.com/Trent Knox. My Facebook is facebook.com/Trent Knox TV. My Instagram is instagram.com/Trent Knox TV or at Real Trent Knox. And then twitch.tv/Trent Knox. You can find me over there. Yeah. Shout out to the sponsors, Postmates. Go over to my Twitter and check that out. And then shout out to anchor.fm. Go check out anchor.fm/Trent Knox. That's where you'll be hearing this podcast first and foremost. I appreciate you all for listening to this episode, and I look forward to hearing from you out there on the interweb and elsewhere where things are going on. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.